Leader B and VCR, have you ever struggled with homosexuality?
Oh, say it again?
Oh, I was just asking.
Yes, if you struggle with sexuality, that seems a bit inappropriate to ask the leader.
I was just curious because I know, some people are just contagious and not want to come out, and I was just curious if BMCRV was a homosexual.
Well, I'm happy to have this conversation. We're going to get started. Our host is here.
Wait, so do you like men?
No, he doesn't like men. He has a wife and kids. Please stop disrupting the live video. We're trying to get started.
Chris Wade, do you like men? I'm just trying to come out the closet right now.
Oh, is that what you're trying to do? Well, we're gonna be able to
We
talk to
don't,
you
we don't
after the
like.
show.
Well, we actually do not like faggots, so please do not come out. Just stay in the
Please,
closet.
you gonna call me a faggot, nigger.
Oh, okay. We're
Jack,
gonna
I don't
have we're
like
gonna
calling you being a nigger, Jack. Please stop, you nigger. This is being live streamed, nigger.
All right. We can no longer hear our guests, but thank you for coming, Han and Jack. We appreciate you being here with us. We're going to get started. My name's Dwayne Fisher. I'm the co-host of Friday Night Talks, and I am substituting. But our host is here, Chris Wade. Friday Night Talks is a production and is powered by the Baptist-Ministers Conference of Richmond and a ministry of the Easy to Get To Church, easytogetto.church. Welcome. And tonight, Sabrina Saunders is our guest. We are looking forward to an amazing time talking with her. But before she comes on, Chris and I are going to follow up on some stuff we did on last week. Chris and I had a great time talking last week about a number of things related to a book that came out by an author. You might know this guy. This guy is named Dwayne Fisher, and that is your co-host tonight. And one of the things that and Chris, if you don't mind, I just would love to tell you about where we ended up after our conversation last week. What happened after our conversation, if you would give me a moment here. And I'm going to bring a few things up and share those things with you momentarily here. And let's just, first of all right, there we go. And we're going to share a few things with you. And let's bring Chris up here. All right, Chris, we're in the spotlight now, you and I. So last week we talked a lot about the book. The book, it's called This Moment. It's by Dwayne Fisher. And I'm Dwayne Fisher, and I'm not trying to turn my own spotlight on, but toot toot. I appreciate the interview on last week. I have had a number of conversations from folks, and a number of folks bought the book between our conversation last week and our conversation this week. And what was really great about that was people weren't just supporting the book, but actually feeling a connection to the content. And that was a really good experience for me to see people actually connecting with the content. And so hats off to you for a great interview on last week. And this week, we turned the tables to a wonderful leader in the community. She's in the West Contra Costa, Richmond area. Her name is Sabrina Saunders. She's an amazing personality. And Sabrina's one of those people who has figured out how to work with pastors and not just, but people in need. people in need. And she knows how to weave her way into relationships, to build on those relationships. She's been a successful grant writer, a community advocate, an activist, a resource during the time that we needed people to step up for our community and get the information, the right information we needed around COVID. And so Sabrina is here now. I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to interview her tonight. This is one of those interviews where you get a chance to sit back and say, oh, something good is about to happen here. So I'm happy about that part of it. And we're going to welcome her. Just one moment here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And I hope our audience can see. Oh, okay. Here's what we have going on here. So we've been dive bombed by Hans, and he's showing us pornography. That's a really unfortunate thing. That's real unfortunate, Hans. I thought you were legit. And okay, we're going to get rid of you. Yeah. We gotta turn him off, and we have to hide him. That's so unfortunate. You know, there are satanic forces that, when the satanic forces are at their peak, it's a great thing to know that you're doing a work for the Lord. And the satanic forces that operate, some of them are monitoring spirits like these guys, but what has happened is they have been overcome by a spirit, and they want to find people to enlist, and they hope that the imagery that they show and the deeds that they do will somehow enlist folks. And it usually starts with inadequacy, you know. There's a deep inadequacy. And that's so, you have to pray, and you have to ask God to give you strength through all of this. You know, Hans, we're going to be praying for you. Know that feeling of inadequacy and feeling like you need to be needed, that you need to highlight yourself. I kind of thought that's who you were, and I see you're gone now. You resist the devil, and he will flee from you. The name of Jesus is above every name. Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, we're going to have to edit that out, and we're going to move forward. And Chris, if you will, let's see here. How are we going to do this? Oh, we'll pin everybody. How about that? All right. There we go. Sabrina, we got you pinned up there. And we're going to pin Chris. We're going to pin you. Okay, great. I think we're all on screen now. Beautiful. Sabrina, welcome to Friday Night Talks, and we are excited about your presence here with us tonight. And I'm going to jump right into it, Sabrina. If you had the ability, if you had the ability to change the world with one wave of a wand, which, you know, I know it's magical and not biblical, but if you could just change the world with one wave of a wand using your program, where would you start and what would you do? You can unmute yourself, Sabrina. While she's unmuting herself, I don't know if you're on a phone or if you're on a computer, but while she's unmuting herself, Sabrina's One Accord project operates out of Richmond, California, but it really seeks all of West Contra Costa College with funding, and there's a very specific group for pastors that meets on the third, maybe sometimes the fourth Monday evening, and it's called a listening session. I attended this past week. I was so happy I was able to attend, and it was a beautiful session where pastors just basically talk amongst pastors and share their common concerns.
Pastor, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. Good evening.
All right, Sabrina, you should get something on your screen that says unmute. On your screen. Well, maybe I'll do this. How about we'll do this? Do you see anything popping up on your screen, Sabrina? It should be something there to press. How about this, Sabrina? Go out and come back in. How about that? That should do it. There? You want to go out and come back in, Sabrina? You should have something on your screen. Okay. I don't know if she's seeing what's on her screen or able to hear us. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay. Hopefully, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
See her.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
she's
Sabrina, can you see something on your screen that says?
Okay.
There you go. You found it?
Okay.
Okay. All right. We are happy. We're going to start right here. Welcome to Friday Night Talks. My name is Dwayne Fisher. I'm your co-host. The host of Friday Night Talks is Chris Wade. He's with us today, and we're going to be interviewing Sabrina Saunders from the One Accord Project. We are happy, and we're starting a little late. We had an interruption by the devil. The enemies of God came for us tonight. Isn't that great? That tells you you're really doing some good work when the enemies of God come for you. When they come directly to your podcast. Oh man. Yep. Lord, I love you for it. I love you for it because hey, it's so sad when people have inadequacy. When people feel inadequate and the only way they know how to make themselves feel good is by thinking that they're going to create the kind of trauma for other people that they're experiencing. And I don't mean this as a put down. I mean it as it's just a reality of truth. Sabrina, you have a long history in our community with people working out. My first question was we're going to get right into it. If you could just wave a wand or snap your finger and make something happen for the One Accord Project, what would that be right off the bat?
I think Thank you so much, Pastor Fisher and Reverend Wade. It's an honor to be here. And I think the things I would want now, knowing what I know, is each church to have their own mental health program for members and support for the pastor. My other thing I would like is the churches to have the resources that they need to be able to do high level programming for the community, um, not not piecemeal, that the churches had the resources, be it food programs, be it tutorial programs for young people and children, be it even computer programs for older adults. Just that the church would not only be a place of spiritual development, but it would be for the whole man and the whole woman. That people could look to the church as not only the place of salvation and the word, which is important, but that practical life needs, teaching financial literacy, that all of those things could be found in churches that feel led in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
You said
not everybody have a mental health program.
Can I dive into something what you said? If I know what I know now, what do you know now?
I feel like, particularly after COVID and our churches got such a hit, I think COVID also exposed some areas of weakness
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in our community and with our congregations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we haven't fully recovered from that yet. But I think in those areas of weakness, it showed us some things that we could improve upon, which is not a bad thing.
When you're, I know you report out on some of this stuff. What are you telling your grantors? You know, when you're reporting out, I mean, are they there? There is some improvement, right?
Yeah, but we got a long way to go. Um, just for a mental health stat for you to chew on, suicide is now the third leading cause of death of African American males between the ages of 15 and 24.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've seen a dramatic rise in suicide
Mm-hmm.
community. That is not going down.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, what we also know too, some of the research suggests that over 40% of Black congregants will only talk to their pastor regarding health issues. They will not go to a clinical person because there's trust built there, there's relationship, and then there's the spiritual aspect of the pastor having that spiritual way to communicate. However, if the pastor is inundated with all the counseling and he is trying to run his congregation and trying to take care of his own family and meet his own needs, that is a lot. But if there's some way that there could be resources for that pastor to be able to, say, refer out when needed, bring someone into the church maybe to do some group work when needed, it could really lighten the load, because many pastors are dealing with a lot of the same concern as members of their congregations.
Well said. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so they need support. I'll just use this as an example. If some people in the church are having marital challenges, the pastor might be having marital challenges too, but
Yeah.
can't really share that with the congregation because they may not be equipped to handle that information So they need their own supports as they support others. And even those situations where it may be something that the pastor needs to refer someone to, say, a clinical person because the matter has gotten too difficult. But I think one of the things that I think we kind of alluded to that I'm concerned about as we move into where we are, just our communities and the situations, is the attack on safety net programs and that impact that it will have potentially on many in our communities. We're looking at right now, like, for example, in Contra Costa County, the Department of Public Health is looking at, over the next 5 years, over $1 billion shortfall. How that can play out for people needing medical care. We're seeing a reduction in SNAP benefits. There already is an anticipation that there will be more people going to food banks for food support because we're seeing the SNAP benefit cutting back. So we've got these different kind of converging storms that are coming. And my fear is that our congregations, particularly our leaders, are not aware of it, so they've not been able to get ahead of some of this stuff. Because what I also fear or am concerned about is many of us look to our churches as a primary place of support. If I need some help, I'm going to my church.
Correct.
And if I'm not a member of a church, I'm going to find a church. Well, I hear Mount Zion. I hear there's a pretty nice pastor over there. I hear Reverend Fisher. He's a good guy. I can go to him with my family's dilemma. And I expect help from him and his congregation because he's a Christian.
Exactly.
And he's supposed to help me.
Yes.
So he who lends to the poor lends to God. So I'm thinking that that's where my help is coming from. But it's not that Reverend Fisher may not want to help me, but does he have the resource or the connection to a resource to help me? And it's not personal, but if he has a specific number of people in his congregation that are tithing and giving to the best of their ability, and he has bills to pay and responsibility, he may not be able to step up and help me. And it's not that he doesn't want to. And what I'm saying is how can we position ourselves as churches that we are able to leverage resources so we can help our own people? That's my concern.
Yeah, no, it's a good rhetorical response. How can we step up, or at least be in position to do something when you're talking to pastors and across, because most of your jurisdiction is West County, is that correct?
Yes.
So most of the pastors you're talking to are in West County.
Right.
Okay, and when you're talking to pastors, and you said something earlier, I just want to use your words. They may be dealing with their own personal issues, and they can't be a resource sometimes because they're resolving these issues for themselves. But when you're talking to them, they do understand though that they can't be that you can't be the panacea, the all in all care. They've got to do something on the inside. It just can't be one accord.
I think yes, I think they definitely understand that. But I think I'd like to hope that one accord is trying to bring us together so we can find solutions together. That, tell you a quick funny story, and it's a true story. I was doing organizing work. I started my work in San Francisco, and I was going down the street. As a matter of fact, Pastor Fisher, that your church is on, but I had noticed there was two other churches. Those were the days of Willie Brown and going door to door, kind of meeting pastors and talking to them and, getting their story and all of that. And I encountered two churches that were very close together. And one of the questions that I asked them was, what is your vision? What do you want to do, Pastor? I want to work with the youth. I want to work against violence. I said, wow, wrote it all down. Went to the next church less than a block away. The pastor said the same, almost identical thing as the first pastor. I said, well, do you know Pastor B? No. They were steps away from each other and did not know each other and the same denomination. And neither one went to each other and said, hey, I'm Pastor B. Oh, I'm Pastor A. Can we sit down and have some coffee? I'd like to talk. How's your ministry going? There's no connection.
What do you think that's about? What do you think that's about?
Door to door. I think I came to the conclusion a long time ago that unfortunately, sometimes churches work in silos. A pastor can get very fixated on what's going on in his church. And to borrow your terminology, Reverend Fisher, sometimes that's a trick of the enemy too. Because if I get so fixated on my stuff, and Reverend Wade could be sitting there with the answer, but I'm not even talking to him. But I'm steady doing the same repetition in this same cycle. But I can't put my head up to even connect with somebody else. So maybe we can put our heads together. I think that people sometimes value their work more than the work or ministry of others. And they feel like, oh, my ministry is so important. I don't have time to go and fellowship with these other churches because they're not on my level anyway.
Well, I think every church is a different journey for every pastor. But I want to touch something that you said there. I want to ask another question here. Yeah. So you've got to take the One Accord Project though and make it. Would you agree? Or tell me how you make it personal for every church, because Galilee's at a certain point doing a certain thing, and Saint ABC Baptist Church is doing it a certain way. How do you all adapt, and how have you been successful doing that? Because everybody loves you in this community. So how have you been successful doing that?
Well,
in fact, they did it. They did a real nice thing for you on Monday night.
Yes, they did. That was a tremendous surprise and blessing. I think one of the things that I like to do is I like to ask questions. And I like to ask people about what they feel is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two ways I can look at things. I sit in a lot of these county meetings where they talk about money, where they talk about what's getting ready to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
County-wide. Spend hours in those meetings. And then I have the vantage point where I can listen to what the pastors and the community is saying that they believe are critical issues or things that they feel should be addressed. When we started out during COVID, which you brought up, we did 3 years straight of COVID response work. Out of that, we got over 40 churches hosting vaccine clinics. Over 7,000 hard to reach individuals received COVID vaccines as a result of our work. We did messaging campaigns, billboards, radio, the whole nine. And we had consistent meetings with the county epidemiologists, pastors, so they could get accurate, up to date information about the COVID pandemic. We did that 3 years straight, started at the height of the pandemic around the end of 2019, kind of faded out about 22, 23. What we learned doing those church-based clinics was when we had county physicians coming in, volunteering their time to come to North Richmond churches and do vaccines, and people had 15, 20 minutes of FaceTime with a doctor at their church, in the comfort of their church with their pastor right there, they felt, well, maybe I can ask about my high blood pressure medicine and the problems I've been having with that. Maybe I can ask about this. So, what we looked at is, wow, what if we could bring a doctor to church, say on a monthly basis, have some snacks, pastors there. Hey, here's Dr. Smith. Ask them anything you want medically for this hour. They are yours. And we started doing that by and getting the program called Look Up and Live, Ask the Doctor. We did a number of those clinics. People loved them. The doctor that we used, Dr. Sarah Levin, ended up getting an award from Kaiser Permanente for her work with us and the churches, because it was such it is a groundbreaking model, because a lot of people's fear around medical care and dislike and mistreatment in some cases from medical systems made them not want to go to the doctor or not want to get an injection. And then we started hearing from different people and pastors, could you do something about mental health? We have people that could use some support in that way. Or pastors saying, confidentially, hey, this is a lot. A lot of people come to me for counseling. Is there something you could do? So that's how Look Up and Live, Ask the Therapist was birthed. And we've been there ever since because of the need. Now, those are ways that we've been able to assess the needs of the community, is one, hearing what people say, but also looking at data and information that's coming out of reputable sources like the county.
Sister Sabrina, do you recommend that? Hello, good evening. By
Good
the
evening.
way, hey, I do want to ask a follow-up question with that. Do you recommend that pastors should pay attention to what's going on in their counties? To kind of tap into what those numbers are, and then two, kind of want to go back. Um, what motivated you? Because you've been doing this before COVID. So what motivated you to
Right.
start this, to say,
Right.
I need to do something, and this is what I'm going to do. So that's a two part question there.
Well, thank you for that. As I said, I started my organizing work back in San Francisco, back in around the late 90s. I was doing church organizing then. I worked doing political campaigns. That's actually how I started. I was hired by a firm in San Francisco, and my job would be to take either elected officials to churches or to work with churches to get voter turnout for particular candidates or issues. And I did that for many years, was pretty successful at it. But what I found out in doing that work was, yeah, you can gather people, we can say we're going to support Pastor Fisher. He's running for Board of Supervisors. So I get 30 churches together. See, I was in San Francisco when there was 80 churches in Bayview that were open and functioning and had Black people in them.
Amazing, amazing. That time has passed us.
Yeah, because again, the mass exodus of the African American population, that pastors didn't see that coming and how it would impact their congregations. That's a whole nother story. But I realized, what if I could start an organization where we could stay together all the time? Because what I also saw too was a pattern with elected officials, where they drive by churches during election season, they smile, they'll put a little something in the offering, but you'll never see them again until the next election cycle. And it's a usury thing. And so my question that I started asking was, how is it that other ethnic groups give their support, but also get things in return? Their communities get contracts, they get resources, and we seem to always be left out of the loop. But our votes are often the votes that turn things. We're often the ones that turn the tide for elected officials because we tend to vote in a block. So I'm like, why is it that they're always coming up with stuff, and then even if we try to get something out of that elected official, they turn us to a liaison. We never have the elected official cell number like they do. So there's no barrier to the contact. So initially, One Accord was political and issue based. And that's how it started. And then when I became a nonprofit, my organization became a nonprofit in 2008, and have done a lot of work. We did a meeting with Barack Obama's person who was the head of the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, had over 300 there. We also were able to get out of those meetings we had several White House meetings. We were able to send a delegation to meet with Obama. Several pastors from Richmond went on that delegation to meet with him at the White House. At the time, they were talking a lot about criminal justice reform and reentry. So there's been several iterations of the work. Right now, we're at mental health and health-related work. It's always been a part, but we also did stuff around affordable housing, political stuff, political issues. So voter registration and education. So there's been several iterations. And one of the things that I've always believed at One Accord, the vision is to be able to provide information to pastors. Because a lot of the information that I may have, or people that I work with may have, may not be. Pastors are not just sitting around digging up this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uh, you're not trying to spend 3 hours on a Zoom with the head of Department of Public Health hearing about what's getting ready to happen with Medicare. Um, so you need somebody like me who does that stuff to kind of condense that information and share that with you, so you, as a leader, know what's getting ready to take place, so you can be in a position for your congregation.
When you think about your time with pastors, you also at One Accord you have a project for women. I mean, not all your time is spent with pastors. What are you all doing with women, and how did that emerge? Your group.
Phenomenal, uh, phenomenal group of women. How that happened was initially when I was, processing this, and, Pastor Washington and others, we were putting our heads together, Bishop Kelly Woods. Um, I made the distinction around separating gender, because I felt after talking to other people that it would be a good way for people to feel at ease. We have probably consistently about 15 to 20 women or more that meet monthly for the grief support group. It has been, we have different ages. We have women in their 20s up to 75. All
How
in
does that work? Is that you don't need to segregate that out? I mean, seems like what issues to women 20 would have were different than 75. Tell me how that worked.
Oh, I thought that too. What I found too was some women, some of the more seasoned women have kind of built relationships with the younger women, which have been helpful for those younger women, like mentors, so to speak. We have a wonderful therapist, Dr. Barbara Porter, who is a clinical psychologist. And it was interesting when I first met her. I was looking very specifically. I wanted an African American woman. I wanted a woman of faith. I had my list together, and I met Dr. Barbara, and I was sitting there talking to her, and I felt the Holy Spirit say, "She's the one." I said, "No, she's not." Nice little older white lady. She's very sweet, but she's not what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for.
My.
Anyway, she starts telling me in the conversation, she's a supervisor for people that are getting their licenses and for social workers. And she says, I've always wanted to do something, go back to doing some clinical work. And she starts saying all this stuff I want to hear, right? And so I said, okay, I think she's the one. And so I said, well, let's try it out. The women love her. She was a Methodist Bible study teacher. She's seasoned. She's over 70. So she's got some life experience and she's clinically sound. But one of the good things about her is she's highly connected to resources. So if I have a situation with a woman, say, for example, needing services or support outside of the group, Dr. Barbara is already linked to services. So her and that woman can connect around what she needs and get it done seamlessly. And she has connections to doctors. She has connections to other social workers and other resources. A lot of our people need in some cases, wraparound case management, where somebody just comes in and helps them with some various aspects of their life to get things in order. So, housing, different things. So she's been a jewel, and she's been with us the entire time. All the women love her, hug her. She's like, she's the person. And she's been there through some very difficult things. A lot of the women in our group have lost children. Um, I'd say almost half of the women in our group have lost children, almost all sons and one daughter. And that's a very painful loss, as you know.
Yeah.
And and she's in the trenches with us.
And it really is a group for grief,
It's
but
grief and it's caregiving,
and
because
caregiving.
a lot of the women are caregivers. And that presents a special kind of need, because caregiving can really be mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting.
Well, that can be a part of grief too, caregiving, watching a
Yeah,
vibrant parent or loved one that used to take care of you maybe, and now you're taking care of them. That can be a form of grief too. Thank you for sharing that, because one of my other follow-up questions was, who does One Accord Project partner with, in this work, just like, you say that churches should work together, and you sound like your group works outside of just One Accord
definitely.
Project and goes and gets those experts to help with those different avenues. And I think that is so wonderful. And I think that we can learn from that. And to that point, what do you recommend? I know that I don't know every pastor in every church in the city of Richmond or in our West County area, but I do know we have several new pastors. What do you recommend to new and old pastors that may have been pastoring a long time? How do they begin? What kind of action plan would you recommend for them to get started into better taking care of the members in this area? They've already got the Bible studies and all that, stuff they have to worry about, but this side of taking care of the member.
I think what I would suggest for pastors to do, um, is just begin to ask the question, or a lot of times, if there's a consistent theme in your church, that tends to be what the issue is.
Hmm.
If you have people that are always having, I'll just use this example. Say you have people with adolescent children who are having behavioral issues in school. You've got a group of parents, they're always getting a call from the principal, and they're threatening to say put that child on medication, or do, or put them in special ed, or do some kind of action, and you've got 3 or 4 parents, and they've got the same cycle going with that same kind of issue. That might be one of the challenges that is unique to your ministry. And then you might want to figure out, how do I find support and resources for these parents? How do I find support and resources for these young people who may themselves need some therapy? Uh, how do I find that? How do I connect to that? If you say, send the mom to us, to our group, and then I pulled out the barb in, and she figures out how to create a plan of action for that mom. Is that a resource? I think that's kind of where I would start. And I think another quick story, San Francisco. I worked for a minute for a program called the Black AIDS Project. Not a popular job. And my job was to go to churches to get them to allow people to come in and talk about HIV. This was prior to Magic Johnson admission. So I would sit down with the pastors, and the data was there. Black people were getting HIV more than any other ethnic group, and all this data. Pastor, can we come and talk about that? Can we bring some experts in, have some information? Not going to encourage fornication, but we just want people to be able to take care of themselves, be wise, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you don't make any references to body parts or sexual activity, yeah, y'all can come. Okay. We're talking about HIV transmission.
Yeah, that's tough.
So what I'm saying is, I'm using that story, and it's a true story. It's a little funny, but pastors have to be able to acknowledge some of the truth that may be uncomfortable about what's happening in our communities and in our churches.
Well, do you think
And
that
a lot of times we don't want to really deal with it because it's not pleasant?
do you think that that same fear, and I, maybe some of it was fear back then in those early days, that even now today it may not be HIV, but that same mental healthness, that same mental health that we're dealing with and talking about tonight, do you think that same fear may be what hinders pastors or causes them to be hesitant
Yes.
to get
Yes.
involved?
Yes.
Just different disease, but same fear.
Yeah. Yes. I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's that. I think it's stigma for some still. I think it's acknowledgement of your own mental health or negative experiences that you may have had in the past, or family members may have had in the past with mental health support services, because everybody's experiences have not been good. And so you could kind of categorize it and say, well, I remember when we tried to go get help for my cousin, that didn't turn out very well. Or they
You,
weren't treated well.
well, as a pastor, and I may be more on the liberal end of this, but as a pastor, I also have a concern that I don't want to, and I was around back then, and I knew as a pastor, I did not want to be dominated by an outside program. I didn't want that. I didn't want the narrative of what I was trying to teach, especially as a new pastor, and instill and install and put in place. And so I would have give you an example. I'm going to give you a quick story, and then I'm moving on. A guy came to our church one night, and we were in the middle of Bible study, and he took a sledgehammer and sludged me over the head with mass incarceration. You're not concerned about mass incarceration? He says, and you know exactly where I'm headed. Go ahead.
No, I know what you're saying. I think there's a way that you have to ask people and gain their trust, because you don't want them to think that you're coming into their church to do anything disrespectful. I just think that we as a people, we have to work on that, like you're saying, because nobody should come into your church and make you feel like their issue should take precedent over your service, your ministry, your vision.
Yeah,
Nobody.
and it just happened to be a night that Malia Cohen had stopped by, and I wanted to talk to Malia. This guy
Yeah.
came and he was coming hard, and he was trying to provoke some guilt. Most people, mass incarceration is a disproportion of African Americans. What's, there's this guilt thing, and this thing you said about how you do it, it's powerful.
Right. No, you have to. I never want to dishonor or disrespect the house or the leadership. And I think that's probably why I've survived as long as I have doing this work, because
Yes.
I've worked to honor, um, and I respect if someone allows me to address their members, to give out information. Those are privileges that you don't play with that, because nobody. And I think that some organizers in their zeal and their ignorance, they forget that. This is somebody's church home. You got to be respectful.
Yeah. 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 The number one commandment in the 10 commandments of the African American church, the first one is disrespect. Thou shalt not disrespect. Do you know most murders happen because of disrespect?
That's right.
They'll tell you, if you straight disrespect me, man, what was I supposed to do?
There was a group of Baptist ministers that used to meet over on San Jose Avenue. I forgot the name of that church.
Is that Paradise?
Yes, Paradise.
Paradise, San Francisco. Okay.
Okay, so at the time I was doing work for Willie Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they had a meeting just like your Baptist ministers meeting, probably on a Saturday. I was supposed to go over there and take some materials, but they had a policy of not letting women address their group. And I had all this, stuff. So I was, prepared to just let the leader know and just leave it at the front. And he came out, he said, well, we decided you can come in. So I was like, and they were like, you're the first woman we've ever let speak to us. And I was like, wow, okay.
That's an honor. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's progress already.
Sweet people, some of them have gone on to be with the Lord. But I wasn't going to push myself. If I had to leave it in the vestibule with a note and call the pastor, lady pastor, materials are there for you, I wasn't going to push into that because, or even if I thought, wow, what's that about? That's their policy. Mm-hmm. And that's how they roll. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to violate that. So, so I think back to Reverend Chris' question is that you have to, show people love, but when you're trying to engage pastors, new and old, it's a process. Mm-hmm. I've been inviting a particular pastor to the Monday night men's meetings for almost 2 years. And he just called me for the first time this week. Sister, I want to come to the next meeting. I'm interested in this. I've been inviting him for 2 years. I didn't say, Pastor, I've been inviting you for 2 years. I said, Pastor, that would be wonderful. I said, I know everybody would love to see you. Let me get your information.
Very nice.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It is. Sister Sabrina, what do you do for your mental health? How do you take care of you all that which you've talked about and all these years that you've been doing it in decades, that's a lot. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of no's and a lot of negativity. And even starting this, I'm sure you face some obstacles. What do
Right.
you do leading this group and then trying to, get pastors together? What do you do to take care of your mental health?
Oh, I'm listening. I'm waiting for this answer. This is going to be good.
One of the things I like to do is I like walking. Like I like to go to the marina, take my tennis shoes, take my notebook, take my Bible, and just kind of zone out. Go out there and just relax. I have one or two trusted friends that I can talk to, and I can even talk to Dr. Barb, and I have, offline. I've used that resource myself when things are kind of hectic, and she's been, there for me to counsel me and give me support. Um, I think my biggest things are like unplugging, be it exercise, be it spending time with a few trusted friends. I have a intercessory prayer group that I'm a part of that's really helpful. And sometimes, and I'm learning in this season when to say no, because everybody has got something for you to do. So I'm learning how to politely say, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad about it. Because before I used to feel guilty, I got to do it, and people will put their needs on you, and their needs are really could be intense.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have to say, oh, I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Or can I send you to somebody who may be able to help you with that? Because I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Better.
love it. I love that. And I think, and Pastor Fisher, please, help too, with that, what do you do? And are those some of the things that you do?
I'm playing golf, man. I'm playing basketball. I play over 40 basketball, full court. I'm running up and down the court, and I play golf. And I talk with talk with my pastor friends. But I am so enjoying so many of the things that I'm able to, retired. So, every day you wake up, it's like summer. It's like summer into December. It's like January. It's like I don't go to working. Oh, that big thing is out of the way. So yeah, mine is really to go play is sports, getting out, running, talking to the wife. I get real silly with the wife. I really enjoy getting silly with the wife. That kind of stuff. I got some really close friends that help me think about great projects that we want to do. So that's something. Sabrina, in fact, there's a project I want to talk to you about at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the New Harlem Project, and I want to talk to you about that at some point. But that's off of this call.
Okay. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And,
Sabrina,
and
go ahead.
I think that Reverend Chris's question is important too, because I think pastors often don't turn off enough. I think they don't turn off enough and, just enjoy themselves and, all the things you described, Reverend Fisher, just enjoying your wife, enjoying sports, getting out, having, sharing visions with your close confidants, it's when I got on the call tonight, there was a young lady that I've done some work with through the county. She has an organization that works with the Pacific Islander community. Very, very smart young woman, very dynamic, probably about 35 years old, but a rising star. I got the announcement that she died last night.
No.
And back to what Reverend Chris's point was, we're in this county network, right, of all these different organizations, and everybody is writing, um, like, this is just shocking. It doesn't make sense. I just saw her 3 weeks ago. She was her same smiley, sweet self. And everybody started out, she did for her community before she did for herself. And it really, and I know she was running hard for her people. We talked many times. Prolific grant writer, as young as she was, writing big grants and getting them. Um, but I was like, everybody kept saying the same thing. She worked, she was tireless, she never said no, she worked for her people. And now she's gone. So it kind of makes you wonder what Reverend Chris just brought up about, self-care and us taking care of ourselves and our pastors and their spouses and their churches, and people just paying more attention to self-care.
Yeah. 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 Sister Sabrina, we thank you tonight. This has been wonderful. And it's a blessing to get an hour of your time. And that
Thank you
hour
for
went by
saying yes to
so
us and not saying no.
and it went by so quick.
Wow, I
It went
know.
by so quick.
I know.
Any final closing thoughts here?
Of course, I just want to thank you both for this opportunity just to share. And I pray that we'll be continuing to share more about how we can help our people.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate everything, and thank God for you and the work that you are doing. And we hope to be able to support you. You call on us. I want you to know I try to make it a point to come and not. And I believe there's a difference between supporting something and being engaged in something. And so I come for engagement when I was at the meeting the other night, and not just because I'm supporting, but because I'm there for me and to listen and to talk and to engage folks. So thank you for what you've been doing in our community, and may God bless and God keep you.